and why we're not this sense, but this is all volunteer between Brianne and I to bring this group here. Over to Brianne.
Hi, like Paul said, my name's Brianne Lynch. I'm the marketing specialist for the company as well as the crew. So last fall we were exhibiting at the United States Boat Show in Annapolis, Maryland, and we were approached by a group called the Salty Dog Sailing Association, and their headquarters is based out of Annapolis in Chesapeake Bay, and they're always looking for new sailing destinations, new rallies, new rendezvous, and they had something planned for Cuba, but I think the whole Trump administration cooled that pretty quickly. So they looked at our maps and our charts, and they saw this inland sea in the middle of the island, and started asking questions. And Cape Breton Island, they've heard of, Nova Scotia, obviously, and they've had some interest over the years, but they've never had an on-land logistic coordinator, someone who was on the island or in the province who could set up, marinas, they could point the group to marinas, boatyards, fuel, etc. So we got to talking, and I could see that their interest was genuine and sincere, and Paul and I volunteered to be the ambassador for the Bredor Lake, and there's no personal gain, no direct gain for sailing CBI, but we saw this as an opportunity to bring a group of interested, a community of interest, if you will, to the island to experience Canada's largest inland sea. So moving on to the presentation, this is just I'm not sure if anyone has ever attended the boat show, but it's the largest in water show in North America. It's huge. Great show. So a little bit about the Salty Dog Sailing Association. They're a nonprofit organization that conducts seminars, rallies, rendezvous to help sailors realize their long-distance cruising dreams, and they sail in numbers. So the old dogs take the new sailors underneath their wing to show them the ropes and blue water sailing and the safety around that. Their organization is huge. Their distribution numbers and their participation numbers and their network around the world. Like I said earlier, destinations included Caribbean, Eastern United States, seaboard, Southern United States, but never a Canadian destination until this summer. So at present, there's 15 boats registered for the rally, anywhere between 4 to 6 people per boat. The rally is leaving Rockland, Maine, and will sail to Shelburne, Nova Scotia. Then they will sail from Shelburne to Halifax, spend a night there, and then they will sail to St. Peter's. That's going to be their first point of entry onto the island. And they're pretty excited about St. Peter's. They've heard a lot about the marina, the facility, and what Jerry has to offer there. And I know Paul and I, we keep the catamaran there in the winter, and a lot of people ask, why don't we just keep it in Bedeck? We're based out of Bedeck, but the services that Jerry provides and the infrastructure that is there is just so good and so supportive. So they're excited about that, and then they're going to sail to Bedeck, and they're going to be in the lakes free cruising for 2 weeks, so 10 days, 2 weeks after that. So they're spending a considerable amount of time on the island. Obviously, they want to see what the lake has to offer, all those like private, intimate coves and inlets that we have, but they're also interested in doing some on-land travel as well. And this is part of our ask, part of our presentation is we would like to do some receptions both in St. Peter's and in Bedeque and on the water, to show them some Cape Breton hospitality and what we have to offer here, both on the water and on the land. So notable attractions, Louisbourg, Fortress of Louisbourg, Cabot Trail. They're interested in seeing some distilleries. I know on this side, they were interested in seeing, they noted La Picasse and the place on the water. Is it the Forge? Yes. Yeah. So lots of economic benefits, shopping at local merchants, provisioning local markets, grocery stores, etc. They're going to be needing some maintenance and some servicing along the way, so they'll be stopping into our local boatyards and, like I said, visiting local attractions. So there's a huge public relations piece behind this rally or rendezvous. This is going to be the first Canadian sailing destination. They're going to be sailing on Canada's largest inland saltwater sea. It's pretty attractive. Local media outlets will definitely pick this up. It'll be hot for them. So, you know, print, TV, radio, etc. So different channels. And they have a huge network. So they're going to be communicating this to their network. And like Paul said, you know, we have such an asset here that is so unique that other provinces definitely don't have, and a lot of countries don't have an inland sea, a sea inside of an island. And so to communicate their experience here within their network is going to be huge. And you know, when we're sailing, we don't see other boats. They're just not on the water. And I think this is something Destination Cape Breton should be doing a bigger job on promoting the Bredor Lake. Anywhere from the kayak to the super yacht and everybody in between should know that this is a sailing destination, and some of the best sailing and boating in the world, really. You know, with warm, brackish water, lots of water, deep water, you know, private, clean, no fog, no rogue wave, things like that. So I think there's a big piece there that Destination Cape Breton could be doing. But like I said, Paul and I saw this as an opportunity that someone had to capitalize on, and there's no direct gain for the company, just a direct gain for the island. So, like I said earlier, we want a little budget to do some receptions, one in St. Peter's, one in Bedeque, and a floating reception, like a flotilla, a sunflower flotilla in Maskell's Harbor, just outside of Bedeque, between Bedeque and the port of Iona. It's where the Cruising Club of America first originated. So Bell and Casey Baldwin and that crew first originated the Cruising Club. We wanted to do like a little souvenir kit, like a watertight kit with a Cape Breton passport. You know, maybe it's some preferred pricing at local merchants, local marinas, preferred pricing on moorings or anchorage. So we want to do something for them, transportation to local attractions, something like that. And if it can't be in full, then we just wanted to, contribute something to the cost. So we approached Victoria County, and we've been approaching corporate sponsors, but we thought that we should be touching on all counties neighboring Burdor Lake. So that's basically it.
I don't know if you've mentioned, but the size of this group, they have 650 boats. I think we do this quite often, but it's 650 boats in their organization, 2,500 members, and they're connected worldwide. So their network is basically going, in the wintertime, obviously, they're south in the Bahamas and the Caribbeans, and they network with people, so they're telling people about Cape Breton. We feel that this is the best way, or a very good way, to promote our island, and we just found recently that it's not being promoted, and we have mentioned destination a couple of times. Of course, we have gone to Destination Cape Breton, and they said this isn't their mandate, to bring people or an organization like that, and we were just for it. So we said we're going to do it anyway, and we're doing it on our own to help promote this group to come here, because I think the size of the boats and the people that are coming it's going to only grow. Next year there may be another. They're actually, we have 15 boats registered now, but they think between 25 and 30 boats we'll have this year, and that's a fairly good number to have. So that's over 125 people coming to sail in the island that we wouldn't get normally. And it was really, they arrived in our booth, and we're trying to sell charters. And I said to Brianne, I said, I think they came back twice, so why don't we go over to their booth and we'll tell them a little bit more about Cape Breton and the island. And generally when we're away, we end up, we sometimes put the cart before the horse. And what we're doing, we have to promote the horse first, because they have no idea of what assets that we have here. They think we're very cold water. They think we're always fog. They have every negative thing that you can imagine. So if we have them come in our booth, it takes us maybe 5 minutes to speak to someone. 4.5 minutes is trying to convince them that we have a lot warmer water than anything. We're the warmest water north of the Carolinas, and that's hard for them to digest coming into a place like this. And the salt water, and what I had to do with the branding last year, we just got this negative feeling. So as we refer to it, we're not referring when we're away that it's Burdor Lake. They just say, it's too small, don't want to go there. We don't sail in the lake, how are we going to get our boat in there? So when you think of it, they're right. So we rebranded as an inland saltwater sea. And that's what we're trying to promote when we're away. We always turn around, it is Burdor Lake because of the local name that we know. But it is an inland saltwater sea, and all of a sudden when they click into that, that's a place where they can go. And so we'll open it for questions. If you have, we think it was important to come here today.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Before I ask any questions, I will ask councilors if they have any questions to ask. If Councilor Boucher. Your mic's not on, Gilbert, please.
Mine, it's on.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
There you go.
It's on
Good
now.
man. You'll get used to this, James, after 40.
Well, it takes me a while.
After 49,
Sorry there,
49
Councilor
years
Boucher.
you've been around. Anyway, folks, I'm just wondering, the budget you're talking about, is that a total budget for everybody concerned now?
Yes.
So if you're looking to the county for what, a couple of $1,000 or?
Yeah, whatever you can contribute there. And we realize that, we're not trying to support them, and we're trying to organize buses and just have them available. These people are either retired, they have good income, and they're not looking for freebies or anything, but I think it's important and they just can't believe that we've been taking this on our own. Because anywhere they've ever gone, nobody's really given them any kind of a hospitality. They arrive there, we're willing to show them the island, so we'd like to arrange some buses and have a price for them. And maybe it'll be subsidized with some of that money, and, they'll contribute as well. But we want to make their stay as enjoyable as possible so the word gets back.
Yeah, sounds
We
great.
spread the word.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Gilbert. Anybody else have any questions? Councilor McLean, I think I got you. Are you on?
Put me on, okay. I shut up.
Oh, you see, well, you guys are confusing me.
They're not changing seats.
Here, I got you, Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Deputy.
Be brief.
Just a question, quick question. In the email that was sent to Yvonne, there was a mention of having something at the St. Peter's Marina as far as a welcoming thing, but that wasn't part of your presentation. So I'm just wondering if anything has changed along that sort of plan. Is to have something in St. Peter's when they arrive, that's the idea?
plan, yes. Yep.
Okay,
And,
so would that be on a little bit of a flexible schedule? Just, like, I know that if they're leaving and sailing from Maine to
Halifax.
Shelburne, and then Shelburne to Halifax, Halifax to Cape
absolutely.
Breton in 2 days, right? That
Yes.
seems a little,
Yeah, tight.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it is flexible, and I think Jerry's flexible, and Bedeck is flexible, so, and I think you're right, those timelines are gonna change a little bit, and, I don't think,
There's certainly one thing, I'm not worried about Jerry not being organized.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure,
If I
yeah.
say to Jerry, and we have said that they're coming, he says, oh, don't worry, we'll look after
Look
it.
after
So,
it, yeah.
But I think, I am troubled a little bit because they think they're going to Bedeck the next day, and, we might have some stragglers like you're suggesting, and they don't realize it's a 7-hour sail to come across. They get the lake bit now. They think that's they'll be there in 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever, but that's not the case. And, we want to give them a good orientation when they come there with the kids. We have this, if you guys are boaters or have been on the water, there's a Cruise Cape Breton guide that was done in the 70s, and it's a free download for them. So it gives them every bit of cove, every depth of water, how to get into those coves, where to drop an anchor. And so it's a very educational, it's about, I think it's around 80 pages, but every map, every cove is in there, and and really it hasn't changed since 1970 because we don't really have any tides and sandbars aren't switching around. So these coves are still pretty much the same as they were in the 70s. They haven't changed a whole lot. So we want to make sure that they understand that they, are free to go wherever they want, and they're just going to be blown away, I think, with the beauty and whatever. So, but we're trying to arrange some entertainment, cultural, food-wise, and so that they experience Cape Breton
Great,
as we know it. So.
yeah, thank you.
I guess what Jason, what he's asking is,
Mike, please.
Race the Cape came in, we had a.
Councillor Boucher, Ken. Okay, are you on?
Yeah, when we had Race the Cape, we had the marina, the lines all booked and everything. And they had a nice meal and introduced everybody to them. And
Right.
Really? Yep.
The big difference, I think, we find, and with the Race the Cape, and I participate in the Race the Cape, is that the boats that they were trying to attract, and they gave money because they were hoping to have American boats. But as a sailor and as a racer, if you can imagine taking a race boat out of New York and coming across our ocean to get here is the challenge. And then they do a lot of club racing, so coming here to race, and even though it's a kind of unique race around the island, we're more adapted to have a group of people that like to cruise. And that's what the Vidor Lakes, get into the coves and that. And any video that I've seen on the lakes, they're not showing anything in the coves, where you can get in a cove some night and the stars are as bright on the water as they are in the sky. And that's what we want to show them, because in a lot of cases, they don't even see stars where they live. So we're hoping to give them a different experience that they haven't.
they're still not seeing one in Trump, so I guess that's.
No.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boucher. Councillor Martel, are you on? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a real good idea. It's certainly something that we do have here in Cape Breton. And as you say, I think that the boat club in St. Peter's are more than welcoming. So if these people come from the States and are welcomed by St. Peter's, they'll certainly remember it and tell their friends. But I'm a little bit surprised that Destination Cape Breton is not on side with this. And to say that it's not their mandate when they're in tourism and bringing tourists and increasing the traffic, I'm not kind of, I don't understand that.
you're not the only one, Council.
You know what I mean? Like I'm kind
is
of
there
puzzled
any-
because usually they're on top of this, and Mary tells you she's usually on top of this stuff. But I was talking to Jason earlier, he's the counselor for around that area in Gilbert, but I think that somewhere along the line there with St. Peter's Boat Club and Speedo and those people that are doing the community organization to work with you guys would be just great. And I certainly would like to suggest that maybe we talk to staff to work with these people to see what can be done and how much it's going to cost, and then bring it back to council.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Martel. A few questions, and I guess because of our new budget process that we do have, and Richmond County that, of course, they have to submit a budget and show the expenses they occur, but is there a registration fee to cover expenses? You got 15 boats, and I'm sure they have to pay a registration fee. I mean, nothing
No,
is
not-
for free.
Nothing for here. No, we're just welcoming them, and we're trying to show them what Cape Breton's all about, so.
They do have to pay a registration fee to the Salty Dog organization. If a sailor wants to participate in a rally, they do have to pay
They'll pay that in the States, so we
they
have
pay
nothing
that
to
in
do.
the States. We don't see any of that.
Oh, okay.
Just
You
like
mentioned,
I'm sorry, just like they'd have to pay like their annual membership dues.
okay. I agree with Councillor Martel. I think we have to look at this and refer probably to budget deliberations or our grant structure. But another question, you arrive in St. Peter's on August 15th, and you mentioned that you're going to take them to Almadam and visit La Forge and visit all this, but you have to be in Badek on August 16th, and sailing for, how do you expect to do?
Well, I think they're going to be here for 2 weeks, so the fact that we're going to give them they might come back to St. Peter's, they're going to be all over the lake, so we'll make that opportunity. Some of them probably want to stay in St. Peter's. I'm going to change the date or recommend.
Yeah, because what you have here,
That was the Salty Dogs schedule.
Okay,
That's not our schedule for them. So
yeah,
we
but
want
the presentation is,
yes, but we're taking it off their website, a lot of this information, so.
no, that's what confused, because you
Yeah.
can't arrive in St. Peter's
Oh,
on August
absolutely.
15th and do all you want to do and be back in Badek on August 16th.
That's right, and
And
they
do
may
10
come back
days.
here a couple of days early and tie up at the wharf, and then they would be able to do those events.
Yeah,
So we're not-
all of the on-land activities would be scheduled. Like, there's a cutoff date to register for this rally, so that would give the organizer and myself some time to kind of lay out the framework for their 2 weeks of free cruising and what they want to do and what they want to see and numbers and that kind of thing.
Okay, in our budget deliberations, when you go to grant structure, you have a $15,000 budget. It's not broken down. What are you actually asking from Richmond County? You say any amount that we can,
Yes.
that
At this
we're
time,
willing
we
to.
don't have a budget, we're taking, all our time is for free, our boat is available to, help with the different rallies or destinations, so we plan on being at each one of these events, and we'll organize any of the buses. We had a meeting this morning with the Benyon Marina, and saying that is a destination close to Lewisburg, so the bus may leave from that area, so, and he was very acceptable to that, so, we're meeting with Victoria County on matters to, maybe it's the Cabot Trail or something, so we're just.
What I'm
trying to-
willing to do right now is accept the motion. I think Councillor Martel, your intention was to refer this to our grant
My motion is to ask
CAO.
our CAO to deal with these people or have somebody deal with these people on an ongoing basis to see where we're at in the budget side of
Okay.
it, and then bring it back to council for approval.
Okay, that's a motion. Any seconder of that motion? Moved by Councillor Martel, seconded by Councillor Boucher. Are you all ready for the question? Questions called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I applaud your efforts, and it's a very good project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Yep. We have some extra brochures, I don't know if everybody saw our new cards, or they have them?
Yeah.
Maybe you should leave extras,
Yeah,
Sure.
leave extras so we can.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to correspondence, which is the first item. Eastern District Planning Commission, that's the alternate board member. And I think they recommend Alvin Martel was the first member as the alternate, and they recommend that we go with the first member we appointed. Is that? Well, there were three alternate members we had mentioned at the last regular council meeting or committee of the whole, I think. Well, that's up to council, it's up to you.
Well, he said they only wanted one.
They only wanted one. We had mentioned three and they want one.
Their bylaws say that there should only be one.
I am a member.
He is a member.
So we can appoint one.
Yeah,
Above and beyond.
one, it's just. So what's your wish, councilors? Okay. Duly moved. Any seconder?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor McLean that Alvin be the alternate. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next item, we have the West Irish Hat and District Village Circle Society property tax exemption request, and I will ask the CAO to probably give us a report on this if you.
This is a very unique situation in that we have a leaseholder, not the landowner, looking for a tax exemption. That's very different from what we've and have dealt with in the past. We looked at this lightly and decided that maybe we should dig in a little deeper with this group to see what their intentions are. They currently have a long-term lease, but they haven't specified what the term of the lease is. And of course, we're very curious as to what kind of initiatives is this organization taking to develop the property. They suggest that they may find somebody in the future, but we haven't investigated as whether they are actively doing that or if they are advertising the property or trying to recruit a potential either event or a sublease tenant. So I think we better look at this just a little bit deeper and come back to council at our next meeting. There's just too many questions on this one. The biggest one I have is that they are a leasehold owner at this point in time, not the landowner, which is somewhat counter to bylaw 56.
I move to accept the CAO's recommendation.
I'll wait, Councillor Boucher. I think there's a question, and your mic is not on. I'll get, sorry, I'll,
Yeah, just a little
Councillor.
bit of background, because it's in my district, and I know the group that has the land, but I mean, Kent, it's not unique to that group. I think we already have groups in bylaw 56 that are leaseholders of land, Crown land. There's a number of them that are already in that situation, so it's no different. The land was scheduled to do the Haddock Harbor project, which was part of the bigger picture with the tourism project for Richmond County. After the fact that the money, that project went bust, that kind of slowed the process down. My understanding is that the land was Crown land, so there was really no tax to be had anyways. So it took the group 4 years to get that land, going through the motions to get that land, so it was really hard to get. Now that they have it, I think that there's potential maybe for them to develop it depending on how it works, and if not, if there's other groups that want to develop. For example, the property next door, which would be the Gaston LeBlanc Memorial Field, that's again a leased land which is tax exempted, and they've been using some of that land to expand their ground to do more parking space. So that it's obvious that they might be able to use it all at some point, or maybe add to it, which would be a real benefit to the community. So that's why they're asking for a tax exemption. But, I mean, if you want to ask some more questions, that's fine with me, but that's just some of the background.
Well, just one of the, thank you for that. That's, but one of the other concerns that we have is that in this situation, they are seeking another use for the property with another entity. Some of the other current arrangements under the tax exemption is for a specific group for a specific purpose. The concern that we would have is, should this group be successful in finding a new tenant for that property, does that tenant become tax exempt under this arrangement? So that would be one question that we would have. Would it be a sublease, or would these folks just give up their lease and there'd be a new lease with DNR? So that's why we want to follow up with, if you give this group a tax exemption, does that apply to whatever deal they make? So I think we just need to get some clarity. It's not that we're not in favor of this, it's just we need to drill a little deeper.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's fine.
Okay, Councillor Boucher, I think you had,
I just want to make a
okay, I'll get your mic on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just want to make a motion, Deputy Warden, that to refer this property back to the staff for further evaluation.
Okay, duly moved. Any seconder? Seconded by Councillor Martel. Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next item, we're going to grant requests. The Alma Dam Historical Society Infrastructure Grant Funds, $4,375. Do you want to deal with these separate? There's also Verdor Lake Biosphere. I think we'll do one at a time. Alma Dam Historical Society Infrastructure Grant Funds for $4,375. Jason, you dealt with these requests? Is there any problems that? Yeah, maybe I should turn your mic on. There you go. Are you on? I guess nobody wants to listen to you, Jason.
I think that one needs to get turned on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, hit it again, Jason.
Yeah, it's blinking on my end.
Oh, okay, so,
There you go.
we got it.
Good to go. Yeah, so the first grant request is from the Alma Dam Historical Society. It's for a Type 1 infrastructure grant, which the maximum under that section in our grant, our new grant structure is $5,000. So they're looking for the funds to upgrade do repairs to their stage at the Lenoir Landing site. So yeah, the application is complete, and they've provided their financial statements and anything that they've required to provide.
Okay, thank you. Council, what's your wish on this? Okay, moved by Councillor Boucher. Any seconder? Seconded by Councillor McLean. Question, Alvin.
I guess a question for Jason now. This grant, I know that we agreed to all these grants, but does that come into the whole of the infrastructure fund?
Yes,
It's not district by district anymore.
It's not
so
by
it's a whole
district.
fund, so
It's-
as people take $5,000 off it'll diminish the fund.
it'll just,
Doesn't matter which district it is, or,
that's correct.
okay,
Yeah, it's one
Good.
pool of money, yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any further questions on the motion? Question is called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next grant request is the Verdor Lake Biosphere Resort Association. And that's a grant fund request for $10,000. Jason, I think
Yeah, I'm on there.
are you on?
Yeah, good. So, when we had some of our budget meetings, one of the meetings was a meeting to discuss just a particular type 4 potential grants. And this was on our list for discussion, and then at that time, it was the wishes of council that we send a request back to the organization and that the organization apply to our new grant structure and our new application under a type 4, which would be a regional health general grant with a maximum of $10,000. So they are looking for $10,000. And the group is looking for, I'll just read quickly, it says, this project involves the design, construction, and installation of signs that notify people they are in the UNESCO Verdor Lakes Biosphere. It is an update to the preliminary master plan for signage prepared by Greg Silver Graphic Design in 2013. The plan was financed through an ACOA grant and commissioned by the Verdor Lakes Biosphere Reserve Society. So they have provided basically everything that we're looking for. On their application, they're stating that they've been approved for $10,000 from 3 other municipalities, which are Inverness, Victoria, and CBRM. So we have asked them to provide proof of letters that those fundings are confirmed. And so they're looking for all 4 municipalities in Cape Breton to be involved in this project.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Councillor Boucher.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. It really bothers me to see, we went through budget deliberations, and we cut a lot out of our budgets to streamline our expenses. And we have people coming, looking for $10,000 here and $10,000 there. At the end of the year, we're going to be up where we were last year. So, but by looking at this kind of stuff here, I think we have to go back to staff and look at this stuff very deeply. This is not only Richmond County. And looking at their budget of $630,000 to do this is a lot of money. I don't know where they're going to get all this kind of money to do this. So I'm willing to make a motion right now that it's continuance, that we do not give these people money until we see everybody else's coppers in the pot.
That's a motion. Any seconder to that motion? So your request is, a motion was that if everybody else commits themselves in writing to this amount of money, we're willing to.
So if the others are in for 10,000, that we're in as well.
Everybody's in for 10,000.
Okay, yeah, I will second that motion, yeah.
Okay. Conditional on the rest.
They have to go back to our CFO and his staff before we
Okay.
give out any money anyway, so.
Have you got that motion correct?
What we're saying is it's a yes based on.
Based on conditional on the other units providing the funding. Okay. Duly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? Question called for. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. We're down to the sixth item, review of checks, May 2018. Have a motion to approve the checks, or are there any questions? Okay, review of checks, it should, okay, you reviewed them, everything's okay. Number 7 is items added to the agenda, there's none. We'll move on to the 15-minute question period. 15-minute question period, anybody? No questions from the audience. We have number 9 item, is an in-camera session. It's a funding contract negotiation, and we cannot have this session open because of negotiations. Direct, okay. So a motion to go in camera, is another seconded. Question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. We'll take a 5-minute recess.